Hello, my name is Chris Campbell-Holt. I am the Registrar and Chief Executive of the AIFC Court and International Arbitration Centre at the AIFC in Kazakhstan. I'm delighted to welcome you all to our webinar today in association with the Astana Finance Days 2020. This webinar is the second of 3 webinars that will be given by our Court and Arbitration Centre this week as a part of the Astana Finance Days. It is also the 17th webinar that we have given so far this year as a part of our webinar series 2020. The topic of our webinar today is online dispute resolution now and the future. This topic is of obvious importance during the current pandemic, and during this webinar we will have a unique opportunity to hear directly from leading international arbitration centres from Hong Kong, Beijing, and of course from ourselves at the AIFC in Kazakhstan. This webinar is also an excellent opportunity to indicate where possible where we believe in the AIFC at our Court and Arbitration Centre, where we will be in 15, 20, 25 years from now, following the rapid progress that has already been made in the last 2 years of time, and given the success of other leading Asia-based arbitration centres represented in this webinar today. Our speakers today all signed cooperation agreements with our IAC chairman, Barbara Doman QC, in 2019, and we are really delighted to be working so closely together in cooperation and to be together here today. Our speakers today are, firstly, Dr. Shen Fuyong, who is the Deputy Secretary General at the Beijing Arbitration Commission and the Beijing International Arbitration Centre. He's also Vice President at the Asia Pacific Regional Arbitration Group. Our second speaker is Mr. Zhao Liu, who is the Deputy Secretary General from the Hong Kong International Arbitration Centre. And our third speaker is Dr. Zhao Jian, who is the Vice President of the Arbitration Court of CIETAC based in Beijing. On a quick point of order for this webinar, each speaker will introduce their institution with a presentation for no more than 3 minutes each, and we will then go straight into questions. Dr. Shen, please can I ask you to start your presentation?
Sorry. Okay, so by the end of last year, we have totally accept over 5,500 cases. And this is the case over the last 10 years. And it reached 6,732. It's a record high number in last year. And this is the amount in dispute over the last 10 years. And also reached a record high number in last year. And although we based in Beijing, actually we accept cases from every corner of this country. We have around 66% of the domestic cases coming from outside of Beijing. And this is the international cases over the last 10 years, and also reached 163 last year. And with disputing parties coming from over 23 countries. And there are 526 appointments going to arbitrators without Chinese nationalities from 2005 to 2019. And if you curious about the gender distribution, we have around 40% of the appointments going to female arbitrators. This is higher than most of the international arbitration institutions. And BIAC although conclude a big caseload in every year, but the average time for the cases, for concluded cases, is very it is not big. Actually, for the expedited procedures, we only need only around 60 days from the establishment of arbitral tribunal to the issue of award. And for the common procedures, the average number of days to conclude a case is around 130 days. And we can achieve this high efficiency because we developed a case managing system since its establishment in 1995. So all the cases are run using this case management system, and which can automatically record every step of the proceedings. Arbitrators are provided with mobile access to the system and can easily check the procedural history in current status of each of the cases. And when the award is finalized, arbitrator can sign it by using electronic signing system, which work even via mobile phone. So when the outbreak of the COVID-19, actually BIAC act very quickly. First, we notice we issue notice for the users and encourage them to use our online case filing system. And for the pending cases, and encourage them to use the virtual hearing. And lately, on May 8th, we issue a working guidelines on online arbitration to help them better prepare and get used to the online arbitration. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you all.
Dr. Shen, thank you very much, Dr. Shen. Very much appreciated. I'd now like to invite Zhao, please, from Hong Kong, to present to us.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon from Hong Kong. It's a great pleasure to be participating in this webinar today. The outbreak of COVID-19 has presented an unprecedented challenge to the way we live, the way we work, and also have a significant impact on the manner in which dispute resolution proceedings are conducted. Given the global travel restrictions and the development of technology for online communications, we have seen more proceedings moving online, and also numerous measures introduced by arbitral institutions around the world to minimize physical contact and to utilize technology to ensure that proceedings are conducted efficiently and cost effectively. The HKIAC is at the forefront of this transformation. The current version of the HKIAC administered arbitration rules are so flexible that arbitrators, HKIAC, and the parties can use any technology to complete every single step of the arbitration online, for the filing of the notice of arbitration, to hearings online, and also to the issuance of the final award. In March this year, HKIAC introduced its fully integrated virtual hearing services called the e-hearings. In May, we have also issued a set of guidelines providing practical tips for conducting virtual hearings. There has been a strong demand for HKIAC's virtual hearing services. Since its introduction, HKIAC has received 39 bookings of virtual hearings, and this accounts for 47% of all the hearings booked at HKIAC during this time. We have also hosted 24 virtual hearings to date. 21 of those were partially virtual, and 3 of those were fully virtual. HKIAC is also known for its experience of dealing with domain name disputes, which is an online process that takes about a month or two to complete. From 2001 to 2019, HKIAC has administered a total of 2,484 domain name disputes. It is also important to mention that there's a clear legal basis for holding online or remote proceedings in Hong Kong. This has been recognized and endorsed by the Hong Kong courts in a number of recent cases. For example, in CyberWorks audio versus video, the Hong Kong Court of First Instance discussed the viability of telephone hearings and it concluded that the physical attendance of all participants from one location is not required. In another recent case, the Hong Kong Court of Appeal confirmed the legal basis for conducting and taking evidence through virtual hearings in Hong Kong, and the court's willingness to adopt virtual hearings where appropriate. And also in April, the Hong Kong High Court issued a guidance note for virtual hearings as well. Notwithstanding all these online initiatives, I should also mention that due to Hong Kong's relatively low COVID-19 cases, HKIAC has remained open for physical hearings throughout the whole time, with some precautionary and social distancing measures in place. There has been no disruption to HKIAC's case management services throughout this time. That concludes my presentation. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Zhao. I'd now like to hand over to Dr. Zhao from Beijing. Dr. Zhao.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my great pleasure to be invited by AIFC Court and IAC to talk about the latest development of the China International Economic and Trade Arbitration Commission online dispute resolution. Founded in 1956, CIETAC is the first arbitration institution in China and also one of the major arbitration institutions around the world. With its headquarters in Beijing, CIETAC set up 11 sub-commissions across China mainland and 3 sub-commissions outside China mainland. respectively located in Hong Kong, Vienna, and Vancouver. In 2019, China CIETAC accepted over 3,000 new cases with parties involved from 72 countries and regions, and 5 cases involving Kazakhstani parties. The dispute amount totally reached $18 billion, all hit record high. Besides that, CIETAC also accepted 146 domain name disputes. CIETAC made a panel of arbitrators with over 1,400 arbitrators from 65 jurisdictions. CIETAC began to explore online arbitration service as early as 2005, when its online dispute resolution center was set up. And in recent years, CIETAC has never stopped its efforts in developing its online arbitration service. Actually, we highly value our good relationship with the AIFC Court and IAC. Last November, Mr. Chairman paid a visit to CIETAC, and we are proud that we signed a cooperation agreement between us during her visit, aiming to promote arbitration not only in both countries, but also in the world. We are looking forward to our in-depth cooperation between us in various fields of international commercial arbitration, particularly against the backdrop of my Belt Road. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zhao. Now, if I may, I'm going to provide a very short presentation to introduce and update everyone on the latest current events at our International Arbitration Centre, the IAC, and of course from our court as well. If you just bear with me for one moment, please. Right. So our arbitration centre in the AIFC in Kazakhstan, and indeed our common law commercial court at the AIFC, became operational with effect from the 1st of January 2018. In this regard, we are the baby, if you like, the junior partner in this collection of highly distinguished, very experienced, and having existed for many years, arbitration centres. But we believe we have a lot to offer already, and that a phenomenal amount has been achieved in a very short period of time. Both of our court and arbitration centre are entities that are independent of the judicial system of Kazakhstan. Both provide services that are 100% online, especially during the current pandemic. There has been no disruption to our business at all during this time. Our arbitration centre provides arbitration mediation or ARBMED, and other methods of ADR, appointments and fund holding. And the court provides judicial mediation and litigation services with limited supervision and enforcement of our IAC arbitration awards. All applications and administration of cases are provided free of charge until 2022. We have achieved, we believe, considerable results in a very short time frame. As I mentioned, we are now in the 3rd year of our operations. And I note that some of our friends on this webinar have been in existence for more than 25 plus years. And we're grateful for their insights to see where we're placed and where we see ourselves going in the further years to come. But Barbara Doman QC, one of the world's most internationally renowned arbitrators and commercial lawyers, was appointed our arbitration centre chairman. We have 38 arbitrators and mediators appointed to our arbitration centre panel. Lord Mance, who was the former Deputy President of the UK Supreme Court, was recently appointed to our court as Chief Justice, and he succeeded our first Chief Justice, Lord Wolfe, who was the former Lord Chief Justice of England and Wales. Our court has 10 outstanding English common law judges. We have permanent world-class premises, as indicated through these short slides, with international standard meeting and conference facilities that we believe really do now rival those of any international arbitration centre or court. Our online court and arbitration centre provide top-class electronic filing of case papers via our e-justice system, and we use online case management and video hearings. All of our cases have been administered online during the current pandemic. We have outstanding administration with our internationally trained staff, and we have promoted ourselves around the world to ensure that we are now included in the dispute resolution clauses of thousands of business contracts. We have trained more than 1,000 lawyers and other people, and we're now doing so online to ensure that everyone has equal rights and equal access to justice to use our international standard arbitration centre and court. With regards to enforcement, we use our AIFC Court for enforcement in Kazakhstan, throughout the entire territory of Kazakhstan. We have key state authorities in Kazakhstan agreements with a step-by-step procedure. Our arbitration awards are robustly enforced as orders of our AIFC Court, and there's no involvement of any other courts in Kazakhstan. We are completely independent. Our judgments from our court have been successfully enforced so far at 100% satisfaction, and most recently with the enforcement of an interim arbitration award from our arbitration centre. This is now all done online. We have successfully administered 95 cases online, comprising judgments and orders, arbitration and mediation awards. Parties to the disputes have come from Kazakhstan, throughout Central Asia, and now also from the UK. I will say we'll talk a bit about the online technology, if you like, from all of our respective institutions through the questions which will follow shortly. But very quickly, I want to identify that our online court and arbitration centre really comprise the following: our e-justice e-filing case management system, secure email filing system. If parties prefer that system and want to use it, we want to provide opportunities for all to choose for themselves what works best for them, for their satisfaction. And of course, video hearings with up-to-date live transcription services provided. The key advantages, we believe, of this are time saving, better use of resources and cost savings, increased accessibility 24/7 and always being kept up to date, and improved connection to information and more control, with instant filing of documents at the touch of a button. For all of the above reasons, we believe that our online arbitration centre and court really do now operate to the highest international standards, and this has been achieved, as I said, in a remarkably quick time. We believe we are the online court and arbitration centre for this part of the world, for Kazakhstan and Central Asia, and we welcome all parties to use us for what we believe is quick, easy to use and cost-effective commercial dispute resolution. I will now turn to questions, and I would like to start, if I may, with Dr. Shen.
Hello.
And with Dr. Shen, I'd like to ask you the following question. What are the key highlights of the recent online activity at your institution?
Okay, thank you. You know, as I mentioned during my presentation, BIAC in BIAC, all the cases are run by using our case managing system, even before the COVID-19. And we also have the experience of allowing the witness to provide the evidence and accept the cross-examination by video links from like London, in California. We even before COVID-19, we have this kind of experience. So for this time, we feel actually nothing new, just to see more people use more online system and the video link. So, and from the perspective of arbitration institution, we just try to issue the guideline to help them better used to this trend. So this is my opinion.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shen. I'd like to offer the floor now to Zhao for the same question. What are the key highlights of your recent online activity?
Thank you, Chris. I think the first point I will make is that we have seen a strong uptake of our virtual hearing services. As I mentioned earlier, about 57% of our hearings booked at HKIC are now conducted online. The second point is that in most of our cases now, documents are filed by email electronically, and it has long been the practice of HKIC to allow filings by email under the HKIC administrative arbitration rules. And the third point is that we issued a set of guidelines that provides really practical sort of guidance and insight on how to conduct the virtual hearings smoothly and cost effectively. And the final point is that we have turned all our events to webinars, like the one that we're having now. And today we have held a total of 13 webinars, and we anticipate to hold more. That's all. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Zhao. Dr. Zhao, would you like to comment on the question? What are the key highlights of your recent online activity at CIETAC?
The key highlights are several measures taken by CIETAC to mitigate the adverse effects of the pandemic. On 28 April 2020, CIETAC issued its guideline on proceeding with arbitration actively and properly during the COVID-19 pandemic, provide detailed guidance to tribunals, counsels, and the parties to conduct arbitration during the pandemic. Among them, the party and the counsel are encouraged to file its claim by online case filing system, to use electronic means of communication, where the arbitral tribunals are advised to conduct online mediation conferences and online oral hearings. Now, the online case filing system has increasingly become one of the most important channels for the parties to file their new cases before CIETAC. Until the end of this May, CIETAC had accepted over 1,200 new cases, while about 300 cases were filed through the online case filing system, with a 300% increase compared to last year. At the same time, more and more parties and counsels are beginning to accept virtual hearings. Together with the guidelines, CIETAC has launched its own online oral hearing platform, enabling the tribunal to hear the case online. This platform is tailored to meet the needs of the commercial arbitration parties. Until the end of this June, nearly 50 cases have been successfully heard online via this platform. In one word, the pandemic highlights the importance and the necessity of online dispute resolution and speeds up the process of CIETAC to embrace new technology. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zhao, from your perspective from CIETAC. I would very quickly like to provide the update from our arbitration centre in the AIFC. As I said in my opening remarks, we have now administered a total of 95 cases across our court and arbitration centre. 90 of those cases have been administered and all online so far this year in 2020. These have consisted of a large number of mediation cases, and these have been successfully resolved very quickly, in some instances as quickly as 1.5 hours from the beginning to the end of the actual sessions with the parties. This has meant that there's been less need to progress directly on those cases to arbitration and to court litigation. We have also received a number of arbitration cases, again, all being administered online, and we know there are more in the pipeline. We have continued to provide our services without any disruption to our business on a business as usual basis. But I say that, but the changes have really been that everything is 100% online, and this will continue for the foreseeable future. We did not need to change our rules or procedures at the arbitration centre or at our court, and the reason for that was because when we created our International Arbitration Centre and AIFC Court, we did so with the future in mind, and so we made sure that everything we created procedurally would be adaptable immediately to the latest digital technology. And I'm very happy to say that given the test cases we've had, the 95 cases so far, those procedures are working very swiftly and cost effectively, and particularly in the online mode. In other ways, similar to what you said in your remarks, we have also developed a webinars program. What we're doing right now is number 17 of that program, and we have other plans for further webinars this year. We're very proud of that achievement. It was put together very quickly with the support of other people at the AIFC, and specifically from our very senior judges from our court and our arbitrators, and of course very important, well-known members of our users committee at our arbitration centre and court from Kazakhstan. And this has obviously all been done online with access free of charge, and all provided via our websites with recordings. That's enough for me, I think, on this question. I would like to move on to another question which we have, and that is this, and I'd like Joe, please, to offer his perspective as the first response from our speaking panel. And the question is, how does your online service work, and what distinguishes it from other online dispute resolution systems? Joe.
So thank you, Chris. Well, I mentioned earlier that we provide online filings and online hearings. But I think what really distinguishes HKIC services from others is that, first of all, our virtual hearing services is a comprehensive package. It includes 6 components: the IP-based or cloud-based video conferencing facilities, high-speed audio conferencing facilities, e-bundling services where you can open your hearing bundles on your personal devices, such as laptops and iPads and smartphones. Electronic presentation of evidence, where you can present your evidence electronically at a hearing and share that with other participants on a share screen, and also on-site remote real-time transcription and interpretation services. And I think the second point is the IT expertise. We have staff who have strong knowledge of both arbitration and the technology. So we can provide, our staff understand arbitration on the one hand, but on the other hand also can provide quality IT support. And the third and the final point is that And we all know that in order for online proceedings to work, and it depends in part on the internet connection and also performance. And Hong Kong has a great infrastructure for that. According to the latest global speed test rankings, Hong Kong is ranked the second around the world for its fixed broadband speed. So I think online proceedings that take place in Hong Kong can really benefit from the strong internet support from the infrastructure here. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Joe. I'd like to invite Dr. Zhao, please, to offer any comments with respect to how your online services work and what distinguishes them from others. Dr. Xiao? All right, we seem to have some technical problems with Dr. Zhao. I'd like to offer the same question, please, to Dr. Shen.
Okay, I will share my view on BIAC online service. Actually, for the online case filing system, it is very user-friendly and it works for a long time here. And for the virtual hearing, we allow the disputing parties to agree to use the public tool like Zoom. The APP use this today. So rather than require them to use the self-development system, so reduce the time and cost for them to learn a new system. So we think this is very helpful for the disputing parties. That's all. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shen. I'd like to offer the question again to Dr. Zhao, if he's still there and able to talk. I believe he's having some technical problems. Dr. Zhao, would you like to comment on this question? All right. Well, in that case, if you'll forgive me, I'd like to provide my own perspective from our own arbitration centre by way of comparison. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, we have three areas here of interest with our online services, and that is e-justice, our e-filing system, a secure email service, and of course, video hearings. We're also using this for really two purposes. Firstly, for all lawyer registration, for rights of audience at our court, but also for all e-filing and case management, all documentation. The process is very simple. This is new for the first time in our part of the world, in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. Our registry provides, therefore, 24/7 around-the-clock support and training, completely free of charge. And we are here, we want to emphasize this is our personal approach at our arbitration centre and court registry to provide that assistance to parties whenever they need it, because what we're doing is very new in terms of our procedures, the types of laws that are being applied in Kazakhstan through our centre, and of course the technology. In terms of the mechanics of how it works, it's very simple. You simply open an account as a user. That account will then be approved by our registry staff. You then log into the system. You have your own personal login details. The process, I think, is very similar. It's been designed to be very similar to setting up a secure online account in any other area of your personal or professional life, which I think we are all now very familiar with. You can create your request for arbitration, mediation, complete the online form, submit the forms, follow all the usual processes that you would if you were doing this in person without the online facility. And that is deliberate to make sure it is quick, it's easy to understand, and there's less confusion with the lawyers using it, again with our full support. We use the video hearings, we use Zoom, we use Teams, we use whatever the parties are content to use and in full agreement in writing. And so far it's been very successful, particularly with case management conferences. We also provide live transcription service. We know this is very important from our own personal experience, but also because the users are telling us this. It tends to be very expensive around the world. We're providing that and access to it to the highest international standards so that people can see the words on the screens. And all in all, we believe that our system is very simple, it's easy to use, it's free of charge, and we provide full 24/7 support from our excellent, highly skilled registry. And we welcome everyone, of course, to use it in this region. What else do we want to say about it? Well, that it's been very attractive. In particular, the key features have been e-bundles, the electronic filing of an entire bundle. For anyone who's not familiar with the concept of a bundle on this video call, it is a file, if you like, with all the up-to-date index documents which are specifically relevant for the hearing to make everyone's life as easy as possible for the smoothest possible transition through the case proceedings. And this is now all done at the touch of a button very, very quickly. And we have something called Pack and Go, which might sound a bit odd for an online dispute resolution facility. But what it is in practice is that you can, the lawyer and the judge separately with a separate account, work on those confidential, secure documents through our e-justice system from anywhere around the world, even if there's no connectivity with the internet, which, as we're seeing today, can be a problem from time to time. And we will have to adapt ourselves to cope with that, not if, but when it happens. And our Pack and Go service really does help judges and lawyers to amend documents very quickly at the touch of a button again, and save them without losing the documents through problems with the internet. So that's our perspective. I can see Dr. Zhao is with us again. So Dr. Zhao, I'd like to offer you the opportunity, if you'd like to do so, to answer the second question, which is, how is your online service working? And what distinguishes it from other online dispute resolution systems? Dr. Zhao.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, very clearly. Thank you.
That's good. Generally speaking, the feature of CIETAC's online service are as follows. First, a standalone arbitration rules were issued. CIETAC published its online arbitration rule in 2009. These rules shall apply to e-commerce disputes and may also be applied to the other disputes upon the agreement of the parties. These rules make clear that unless otherwise agreed by the parties or decided by the tribunal, documents shall be served by email and EDI. The oral hearing shall be conducted remotely. Therefore, all online activities have a sound legal basis. Even if the parties agree that the applicable rules are the rules other than online arbitration rules, the online arbitration practice may also be referenced where appropriate. Secondly, a specialized organ was established. CIETAC set up the Online Dispute Resolution Center in 2005 to deal with online disputes with specialized staff members. Thirdly, an integrated service was formed. All important steps of arbitral proceedings, such as case filing, service of documents, oral hearings, and tribunal deliberations, may be conducted online. Fourthly, a dedicated platform was launched. Both CIETAC online case filing system and its online oral hearing platform are designed for and exclusively used by the CIETAC end users. The platform may accommodate the needs of the CIETAC users with a high level of security, and the confidentiality can be protected to the best extent as well. That's all. Thank you.
Dr. Zhao, thank you very much for your insight on that question. We have another question. And when parties are bringing their disputes to our respective international arbitration centres and otherwise dispute resolution centres, key in the mind of most people, if not all people, not just the international standards that I believe we're all providing now together in cooperation, but the costs. So the next question is, what impact has your online dispute resolution system had on costs to the parties in disputes at your centre? And I'd like to start, again, Dr. Zhao, I'd like to start with you, if I may, while you're here.
A good question. With CIETAC's online dispute resolution system, parties may save a lot of money. In terms of economic costs, parties do not need to spend money on travel, and do not need to pay to arbitrator fees on travel and accommodation. In terms of time costs, virtual hearings are much more convenient than arranging in-person hearings, especially with very busy arbitrators. Additionally, if the parties agree to apply the CIETAC online arbitration rule, the parties will enjoy a more cost-effective fee arrangement according to a very special fee schedule for such cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zhao. Dr. Chen, I'd like to invite you to comment on the costs question, please.
Okay, so actually, obviously, you will reduce the timing cost of traveling. You know, for most of the users of BIAC, they are outside of Beijing or even outside of China, so they don't have to come to Beijing now. And even for the disputing parties live in Beijing, since Beijing is a big city, so now you don't have to go to the arbitration institutions for hearing during the rush hour. So we will definitely save the time and cost for the traveling. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shen. And Joe from Hong Kong?
Yeah, so I agree with the points made by Dr. Zhao and Dr. Chen, and I think the saves a lot of the travel cost for arbitrators, counsel, and the clients' witnesses. But I think another point just to add is that given at least in our case, most of the documents are filed online by email. So that also saves a lot of photocopying and printing costs as well. So it's not only cost effective, but also really good for the environment.
Thank you, Joe. From our arbitration centre and our court in the AIFC in Kazakhstan, of course, I would agree with all of what you said. Leaving aside the fact it's not possible to, or not advisable certainly, to be physically attending some hearings is much better, and we are all doing this now successfully, I believe, to do so online. But of course, the travel costs. We have developed, in any event, a special client services program at both our arbitration centre and our court to help with special rates in hotels, to help with special rates on flights, and to make the user experience, I wouldn't say enjoyable, because cases in courts and disputes are never particularly enjoyable, but as smooth and cost-effective as possible for all users and parties concerned. That aside, though, as I said in my opening remarks, we have absolutely no costs whatsoever to the parties when they are using our online technology. And so the services are provided completely free of charge. There's no applications cost, there's no administration cost. In that regard, I believe we are truly exceptional and unique, particularly in our part of the world in Central Asia for what we are doing. The only costs that parties will have if they pursue an arbitration or other dispute resolution technique at our arbitration central court would of course be the cost of the lawyers and the arbitrators, which would have, as always, be privately contracted between the parties to the dispute, not us, but the parties to the dispute and the lawyers and arbitrators. And in that regard, we are also doing what we can, still at this early stage of our operations, to provide free representation and free assistance on an exceptional basis with free access to arbitrators. Now, this is very unusual. I think we'll all appreciate that. There aren't many arbitrators around the world, especially the big names, the most trusted people who are prepared to assist free of charge. And perhaps it's because we're new to this in Kazakhstan, and we've been able to persuade arbitrators to operate free of charge in at least 2 situations so far, which was not expected. But these are all measures we've taken, not just because of the pandemic, but generally to make our dispute resolution as attractive and quick and cost-effective as possible. And I think there's no better way of doing it than making it free, which is what we have done, and this will continue until early January 2022. So we have a few more questions in the time that we have. So moving on, the next question, please. What is the approach to online case management at your centre? And how do you support your users through this process? I'd like to offer that question, please, firstly to Dr. Chen.
For me? Thank you. Okay, we, for the approach to our online case managing system, they just knock on our website, and for the supporting system, actually, like every arbitration institution, so issue the guidelines for the users. And also we have the case manager system, but case managers, they are on standby and ready to provide help for the different parties. They could contact our case manager by email or by phones. So that's all. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Shen. Joe?
Thank you, Chris. I think in terms of approach, I've already covered most of that in my sort of presentation. And I think the short point is that we can deal with everything online by email. We're also working with external partner to introduce the online document repository for parties to deliver and store documents online. I mentioned earlier that we have a very strong IT expertise. So if there's any technical issue about our online system or cybersecurity issues, that we can look into it. For each hearing taking place, online hearing taking place at each case, we'll assign a hearing manager for that hearing. So he or she will monitor the entire process and provide IT support as needed. So that's all I want to say for now.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much, Joe. And Dr. Zhao.
Thank you. I believe all of us need to embrace new technology in the times of digital society. We encourage the use of new technology and actively promote the application of online case management. CIETAC arbitration rules give the tribunal wide discretion as how to conduct arbitral proceedings. And at the same time, it also the tribunal's obligation to conduct the proceedings cost effectively and to provide a fair and efficient process for resolving disputes. As for the oral hearing, for example, the most important issue in the proceeding, we believe that a virtual hearing is a specific way of oral hearing, which is in accordance with the arbitration rule. In light of this, we advise the tribunal to conduct the arbitral procedure online where appropriate. We are also advise the tribunal to deliberate promptly through audio and video conference and encourage the tribunal to hold a virtual mediation meeting. Besides that, we encourage and support the party and counsel to take full advantage of our online services. We encourage them to file their claim by online case filing system, to serve documents by electronic means, and to attend online oral hearing, etc. At the same time, I also believe a degree of caution is necessary. Online case management has its own shortcomings. When using online case management techniques, the arbitral tribunals shall be very, very careful. No matter what techniques are applied, it is essential to ensure the utilization of techniques is neutral to both parties. The tribunal shall act impartially and fairly and afford a reasonable opportunity to both parties to present their case in order to ensure the enforceability of the arbitral award. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zhao. By way of the perspective, again, from our arbitration centre and our court, I would agree certainly with everything that's been said in full support, particularly with regards to our rules, both at our arbitration centre and at our court, which provide a specific overriding objective. And within that overriding objective, there is a very clear focus on the importance of pursuing the most appropriate form of IT, or as we now say, digital technology, to the best possible way to support justice and to dealing with all cases equally, fairly and justly. So I believe we're all making maximum use of that, particularly at this very important, challenging pandemic time. But in terms of the actual day-to-day case management, we do have dedicated case management department, and it is small at the moment because we are new, but it will build over time, as I'm sure you all have done so in your years of development as well. The staff are trained to absolute top international standards, with time in Asia, time in London, with the very best people, and of course, with ourselves in Kazakhstan and our chairman and our arbitrators and judges. But what we have developed is a very personal approach to case management. And in this regard, we want to be immediately responsive. Now, we know, and I don't believe this is a problem at any of our friends joining this video webinar today, because we're all immediately responsive, but there are many international centres that have been around for a very long time, decades in some cases, and they do not have an immediate response. And we hear people coming to us already with potential disputes because they've told us that they've had to wait maybe 12 months at alternative centres for a proper response. And a proper response is immediate assistance to find and to appoint an arbitrator if there's a dispute on that or request on that point from the parties. And of course, the processing of documentation. By having our online digital technology with eJustice, it's been much easier to reduce the scope for potential error or mistake with the handling of documentation. It's all properly recorded and stored securely from the very beginning of the process right to the end of the process and the final arbitration award, mediation award, or judgment at the court. So the personal approach is what we've really focused on. But I must say that is always factored into the equation that we will be absolutely treating all parties equally and fairly, and there's no special treatment of any particular party. Of course, we must state that because that's what we're all here to administer justice in the best possible way that is fair and equal and objective for all. That's my response. I would like to move on. We have a couple of more questions. I hope that in the time that we have available, we'll get through these, and it'll be of good value to us all for us to comment, I think. So the next question is, does your institution interact online with courts for any matters in relation to arbitration? And I'd like to offer that question firstly, please, to Zhao.
Occasionally, we interact with the mainland Chinese courts under the Hong Kong mainland arrangement on interim measures. That arrangement where a party to a Hong Kong arbitration can apply for interim measures from the mainland Chinese courts. And under the arrangement, the mainland Chinese courts may get in touch with HKIAC by email or through other electronic means to ask us to verify certain information about the application or the underlying arbitration, and then we will respond to that to the extent that we're in a position to do so. So that's the sort of the most typical sort of interaction that we have with courts in relation to arbitration.
Thank you, Joe. And Dr. Zhao?
My answer is quite short, not yet, but we will actually explore the possibility of connecting or interacting with the Chinese courts online for arbitration-related matters. Actually, I'm happy that the Chinese courts is very open and supportive to Chinese arbitration circles in this regard. We are just looking forward to ahead of us. There are many things ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Xiao. And Dr. Chen?
Yes, allow me to introduce the practice in the the first intermediate court in Beijing. You know, under Chinese arbitration law, if the disputing parties would like to apply for interim measures to seize the access of the other party, and usually they will submit the application to the arbitration institutions, and the arbitration institutions will forward the documents to the court. And since last year, the first intermediate people's court in Beijing, they developed a case, also a case managing system, something like that. So if the disputing parties would like to apply for the interim measures, they just upload the application. And we also, for the arbitration institutions, BIAC, we also have the access. We just also to upload like a supporting letter to the court, and the court will handle all the applications. So this is a good beginning, since you know this is a big country. If all the court system could offer this kind of online service, it will be very helpful for the disputing parties. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Zhen. Thank you. From our perspective, it's the Arbitration Centre in the AIFC. The answer is yes, absolutely. We have a very close interaction between our online and in-person arbitration centre with our AIFC court. And this was deliberate. When we created our arbitration centre and court a few years ago, we realised, of course, that we were lucky because we had a blank canvas and the opportunity to immediately do something about it. And we created the court in part to be able to assist with very limited supervision and enforcement of arbitration proceedings at our arbitration centre. And this is all provided very clearly in the rules, the procedural rules of both our AIFC court and our IAC. So to some extent, we're very fortunate because we had an opportunity to put that in place from day one, and we have done. It's been tested. And a matter of weeks ago, I think it was, we had an interim arbitration award at our arbitration centre. And the cooperation and the immediacy of interaction online was absolutely critical to the success of the enforcement of that interim arbitration award. And what happened was the arbitrator, it was a sole arbitrator, gave his interim arbitration award. It was given to the parties. The party, one party concerned, immediately filed an application at our AIFC court electronically for the recognition and enforcement of that interim arbitration award. And within 68 minutes, so just over 1 hour, our judge at the AIFC court was on the telephone discussing with me and our team how he was going to deal with this situation. And he dealt with it in 68 minutes from start to finish. And we had an enforceable order. And as the enforcement judge of the court, I was given instructions to issue the execution order, which of course I did. So that was all managed very quickly and successfully, again, completely free of charge to the parties. And specifically using our online technology. But it does require the great assistance of all of the parties involved to make sure that it works smoothly. I can see that we have a limited time. I'm going to ask you all, please, one more question, if I may, and I'd like you to answer, if we set this as a test, within 30 to 60 seconds, if at all possible, and then we'll move on to closing, given the time that we have. But what are your institution's future plans for online dispute resolution? And I'd like to start, if I may, with Dr. Zhao.
I try to be very short due to the time reason. Very likely online dispute resolution in the future mode of arbitration. Because of a pandemic, online dispute resolution has experienced unprecedented growth this year. Our pace should step up, and our efforts need to double to catch up with the new challenges and opportunities. We plan to work and cooperate closely with international and domestic arbitration institutions, such as IAC, Hong Kong International Arbitration Center, and the Beijing Arbitration Center, to explore appropriate rules for online dispute resolution, try to improve the standard of practice, and apply advanced technology to facilitate a seamless transformation from traditional arbitration to online one. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Xiao. Dr. Shen? Looks like we've lost Dr. Shen momentarily. So, Joe, would you like to offer your perspective, please?
Sure, yeah. So we plan to further upgrade our virtual hearing facilities, and we have a very exciting project that is in the pipeline at the moment, and we plan to make a big announcement about that in August. So stay paced on that. And we also plan to expand our IT team. We have just hired a digital project manager who will oversee all the virtual hearing proceedings. And lastly, we will organize more webinars and promote the use of online dispute resolution around the world, and which is a mode of dispute resolution that we believe will benefit users around the world.
Thank you very much, Joe. Dr. Shen, we have 30 seconds for you. If you'd like to make a comment, please, about future plans.
We believe the online dispute resolution.
Okay, we appear to have lost Dr. Shen. Dr. Shen, if you can hear us, I'm very sorry, but we're going to have to move on. Just for me, if I may, to say, yes, of course, we will be pursuing the closest possible further cooperation with our friends on this call, and we will be rolling out later this year further training programs, further promotions, further online dispute resolution services. Watch this case. We think it's very exciting for Kazakhstan and the Central Asia region and internationally with our new innovative ideas that we will be implementing in practice later this year. I would like to close the proceedings with all of that said, please, with great thanks to our friends from Beijing and Hong Kong. I want to thank you very much again for providing your invaluable insights. Please, everyone on this video call, we would like to remind you that our next webinar from our Court and Arbitration Centre will happen at 4:30 p.m. Sultan time on Friday this week, the 3rd of July. This will be a unique opportunity to hear answers to questions directly from two very important people at the AIFC, and that is the Chief Justice of the AIFC Court, Lord Mance, and secondly, the Chairman of the IAC, our Arbitration Centre, Barbara Doman QC. We're very much looking forward to welcoming you all back to see us again via webinar on Friday. Thank you very much. And with that said, we will now close proceedings. Thank you again to everyone and for everyone joining us today.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody.